So, good evening, everybody. Those joining from outside the United States, good evening. Those joining from within the US or other parts of the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good late evening. My name is KEWAN RAHEEM. I'm here today to talk to you about how to elevate your posture from being a techie to a business partner. Now, I know these are a lot of words, uh, so let's talk about that. A few housekeeping items. First, I'm not here to present. So since this is going live, please feel free to ask questions, put them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer as many as I can. Um, let's talk about the real glow that nobody teaches you. How to go from being a tech person to be a legit business partner. That's just not fixing things, right? It's not just talking about tickets and incidents and whatnot. I'm talking about becoming a person leaders trust with thinking, broad, transforming organizations and really shaping the future of the organizations, right? So, in the comment section, please feel free to let me know. And again, this is a question to everybody who's watching and listening. How many of you have been in your current roles for more than 2 years? I would really love to know. So when I take your questions, I can answer appropriately. Um, why you here? That matters, right? You are in your career in the most exciting, most disruptive time in the history, I must say. You're stepping into roles where technology and business collide. Right? But companies today aren't just looking for people who know how to do tasks. They are looking for people who know how to create an impact. They don't just want coders, analysts, admins, project managers, engineers. They want business partners. And I'll explain all that. People who understand technology and understand how the technology changes the business, that's what's being sought truly. With the infusion of AI in pretty much every technical platform out there, there's no other way to deliver value, to deliver capabilities without having that partnership with the business and a deep understanding. So those that understand uh, the culture and how it is impacted using technology, those are the people who are being sought right now in the industry. People who can walk into a room and add value, not just complete assignments. Okay, let's define a few terms and concepts. A techie fixes stuff. A business partner changes the scenery. Techie would think, how do I do this? Business partner would think, why does this matter? You all are naturally built for the why. It's that why that matters. So let's break it down in a way that actually makes sense to where you are today. So for a techie, more focused on tasks, focused on tools, focused on what needs to be done today. They measure successes through tickets closed, incidents closed, problem solves, configuration changes, et cetera, et cetera. Where a business partner, they are more focused on outcomes. They are focused on the whys. Why are we doing this? What impact it's going to have? Why and how will it make business better? And they make decisions through the lens of the customer. Uh, Not only customer, but revenue, efficiency, gain, things like that. They measure successes by business impact, not just technical outputs, right? I'm hoping the reason you're attending this session is because um, number one, you couldn't find another better session to attend, or it could be that you already think in outcomes. You are purpose driven. You want meaning. Your mindset naturally positions you to be the business partner, not just order takers. And I'm hoping it's the last four that I mentioned because you will get real value out of this. So moving forward, um, companies don't want keyboard warriors anymore. They want impact creators. Being good at tech gets you in the door. Understanding the business, that's what's get you a seat at the table, right? And again, just to simplify it, here's the simplest ladder you'll ever climb. I would tier it by levels, right? So level one would be support. Level two would be a contributor. So stepping back, level one would be a support. You follow instructions, you fix things, you react, to whatever's coming your way. It could be a trouble, it could be a new initiative, whatever. A contributor, which is the next level up, you offer ideas, you begin to see the bigger picture. Level three I would think would be an advisor, something like you influence decisions. People seek your input. Whenever they have a challenge or a problem they're trying to solve, they come to you for answers. Level four would be a strategic partner, right? You understand the business so well that leaders trust you with shaping the future. And level five, I would think, would be something called a business partner. Now, don't define this by title, define this by influence, right? And I think this is where Gen Z mainly, they shine, influence and power. They know how to move things. They know how to convince people. And I think that's your superpower, if you will. So here's why you're entering the workforce at the perfect time. Um, Things like AI, automation, cloud, cybersecurity, data analytics, these are, uh, think of these as superpowers. But the real flex, knowing how these trends actually affect customers, money, and outcomes. Again, let's simplify this thing. From support to a contributor to an advisor to a strategic partner to a business partner. You are not just climbing, a job title ladder. You're climbing a value ladder. And I think that's what matters the most. And the sooner you stop thinking like a ticket taker, the faster you move up the stack. There's no other way to put it. Um, so what's changing? The tech trends that are shaping the careers. Like I said earlier, you're entering the workforce during a tech explosion, right? AI, automation, cloud, edge, cybersecurity, data, and mainly composable architecture. They are all over the place. And this is what you're dealing with. Each one of these trends is redefining roles and expectations. Take, for example, AI and automation. It's not about replacing you, it's about freeing you to do the higher value tasks, right? Cloud and edge. Take another example. Your generation expects, flexibility. Business expects agility. Um, Take, for example, cybersecurity and trust. Trust is a new digital currency. Your awareness is your advantage. Awareness not only for what you're doing, what the task that you have at hand, but also the direction the business is headed, the strategic direction, the capability that the business is looking to onboard. So it's about zooming out from 1,000 feet view to a 30,000 feet view, or start with say 5,000 feet view, starting to see that big picture zoomed out, not only focused on what you're doing today, but also how does it impact? How does it create value? How does it impact a capability? And again, I'll show you some artifacts, that will outline and highlight some of these things. But point is that the impact of what you do, that needs to be not only delivered but also understood, and how it connects within the organization, that needs to be considered very clearly. And lastly, I would say, composable enterprises. Most enterprises these days, and I think that's mainly started during COVID. During COVID, a lot of organizations realized that the way for them to not only survive but to thrive is to be composable. Hence the birth of composable architectures. Um, Take hospitals as an example. During COVID, a lot of hospitals, healthcare systems, especially around the U.S., Europe, and Middle East and Asia as well, they went towards telemedicine, and again, rightfully so. There was a need for it. So hospitals and health systems really had to find a way to adopt quickly and move in that direction. There was no other way to do it. So people behind the scenes like us, people in IT, we looked at these challenges and we said to ourselves, how do we enable this thing? And that's where the composable enterprise, comes in. Being a technologist, your core focus is how do you design and build something right from a single piece of code all the way to your application architecture, your infrastructure architecture, your cloud architecture. You design that in a way that can be scaled, that can be changed with the changing capabilities and capability changes, that might be coming down the pipe. Now, your strength comes in is where when you understand the business, you can easily identify what's coming down the pipeline. not just what's ahead of you or what's immediately ahead of you. So here's a true business partner mindset. Sorry, I mean, like, a Gen Z style mindset. Um, and if you look at this, the screen, let's translate this tech characteristic into your world, right? I don't want a techie. I need a business partner, right? That's the title of this of this webinar. Um, Take, for example, business literacy, right? Know how your company actually makes money. Learn the business model, learn the customer, and learn the revenue engine. Now, you might be saying, I'm just a coder. Why do I need to know all that stuff? Well, you do, because whatever you do, it impacts the bottom line of the company. So you need to understand all those things as to how the revenue is being generated and how does it impact all the way down to you being a coder. It doesn't matter what level you're at. Your influence and your understanding, that's what matters. Take, for example, strategic alignment, right? Business alignment, strategic alignment. You connect your work to the mission. Now, what does it really mean? You connect your work to an outcome. What I'm doing, what outcome am I driving? How does that outcome connect with the team goal, the departmental goal, and eventually the corporate goal, that's aligned or defined for you, right? Let's talk about credibility and trust. You show up, you deliver consistently, you communicate clearly. Um, Gen Z values, authenticity. Leaders value reliability. Blend both. Use both at the same time. So, being an innovation catalyst, if something is broken, fix it or improve it. Don't don't just wait for permission. Act now, apologize later. That's what they say. And this generation's creativity, that's a fuel for transformation. Folks around the world, they are known for acting fast. And again, humbly, I'll say apologizing later on. In a lot of cases, that's okay. You take the action, you move, you deliver something in alignment with what you're being asked for, what the business is asking for, and you let it sink in. So I'll pause and see if there are any questions or concerns. Mariam, keep me honest. Let me know if there are any comments coming in, any questions coming in so far. My apologies, I cannot hear you guys.
Can you hear me? Hello.
I see some comments coming in from people. Let me just go through it quick. Let me make sure that there's nothing that needs to be answered. I'm not finding anything that needs to be answered immediately. If there is, let me know. Put it in the chat or something. I'll move forward. Um, Again, just do a quick time check. All right. So this slide is your glow up checklist. Let's call it a glow up checklist, right? Understand the business, speak the language of the outcomes, co-create strategy, build trust, and keep learning. Now, do these consistently, and suddenly where you are, you're not just a junior analyst. You are the rising leader everyone notices if you follow this ladder. Now, let's translate it a little bit deeper. Understand the business. Ask questions like, who are the customers? What does success look like for them? How does my work create value? Speak the language of the value, which again here it's depicted in step two, if you will. Um, you know, uh, what is the business impact of what you're doing? It doesn't matter, what it is. It could be, like I said, it could be a code, it could be an application, it could be a front end, it could be a UX design, it could be anything, right? Ask like what business impact it is creating, and use it everywhere. And it changes everything, when you use it everywhere. Co-create the strategy. Invite business peers into your work. Don't just keep it to yourself. Invite people from the business to what you're doing, share with them what you're doing, and get their feedback. And that's okay, because you will get an outside in feedback on what your work is like, and they will get to appreciate what you do behind the scenes as a technologist, as an expert in your field, in your domain, right? Make your thinking visible, communicate, do whiteboards, send emails, talk to people, right? Lastly, build credibility. Deliver on what you say, communicate clearly, right? And I think I can't emphasize on the fact how important it is to communicate clearly. The one thing which, the more you go up the stack in leadership, you'll start to realize that how you present your idea matters. There's an idea of a single page strategy, single page design, single page architecture. The key point is that, and I'll just give you a hypothetical example. You're working with a partner, a vendor, or somebody, say on the IT side. You're collaborating with somebody who is outside your organization. It's for a code that you're writing. It's for a front end that you're building. Somebody else is providing some kind of value for you. Are you able to present your entire project? Just take, for example, project. Are you able to present your entire project on one page? If I give you one page, one screen, how much can you show on one screen? Take the same concept and apply it to how you present it up the leadership. The higher up you go in the leadership stack, the more concise that information gets. There's no leader out there that wants to sit through 1600 slides deck. They want to see everything in one spot, everything right there, then and there, in a very non-complex way, easy to understand language. And I think that's where the strength comes in. Now, how do you start? You start by practicing. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort to think through things, and then to build something. But before even you start to build, you need to have a clear understanding of, there's a point of view that you have. It doesn't matter where you are in the hierarchy. And then there's a point of view that the leadership has. So you need to understand what point of view do they carry, and they want to hear about what is important for them. And you highlight in your presentations, in your talk track, what is important for them. And again, you do that by starting to understand the business first, starting to understand what capability does the business has, what capability and capability changes it focused on, what capability and capability changes are part of the strategy, and how does business strategy build an IT strategy, and how does the IT strategy gives birth to initiatives within IT. How do those initiatives give birth to projects? How do those projects give birth to tasks? And everything that I said, I'll show you in just a few minutes. I think you'll be able to visualize it, and that should be a lot better. So you're not just there at your job to support the business. You're there to transform it. Innovation, trust, agility, these are your new tools. Of course, the tools that you use every day, they are the tools to survive. But for you to thrive and move forward, truly, innovation, trust, agility, these are the tools that matter, and they will matter going forward, for you. So how do you do this? You bring new ideas. You challenge the status quo. Uh, and again, this is something a lot of people are afraid of doing, because they often, always often, not often, always, they often follow how things are being done or how they're being told. There are very few people in the world who would sit down and they would think through, why are we doing it this way? I'll give an example. A couple of months ago, I was in Pakistan and I was depositing a check in the bank. And sorry, I was cashing a check in the bank. So I walked up to the teller and I said to the teller, I gave him the check, you know, and they were like, sign it. Okay, signed it, signed in the back. We want another signature. Okay. So I asked the guy, I said, why are you asking for two signature? Here is one signature that tells you that I'm validating it, and I'm showing you my ID as well, which has my signature on it. Why do you need two signature? And you also have a signature in the front, which is because it was my own check. So essentially on one check, you had three signatures. So the guy looked at me, he goes, I don't know the answer. I said, no, truly, why do you need, two signatures on a check, especially on a check which is my own check? Money is going to me. I'm showing you my ID. Why do you need three signatures on a check? And he looks at me, and goes, I don't know. So I went to his manager. I said to him, I said, you know what? This fine gentleman is asking me for three signatures on one check. I don't mind doing it, and I'll do it because everybody else does it. I said, but my question is, why do you need two signatures on the check? Same check. Are you trying to validate a validated signature, which is on my ID as well? And the guy goes to me, he goes, this comes from years and years ago when in the banks they used to use token system. So on one window you went and you signed and they gave you a token. And then once you moved to another window to receive the money, you signed again that you received the money. So I said to him, I said, for so many, like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years, nobody challenged it. Like nobody asked that question saying, why are we signing twice? And he looks at me, he goes, no, they didn't. Point is that it's okay to challenge the status quo. I mean, you're not going to change everything, but challenging the status quo, how things are done, that's the way to move forward. That's the way to create a differentiating effect, impact, right? So use technology as a lever. Technology is not something that is here today and won't be there tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's there in every part of our lives, everything that we do, from the time you open the fridge to the time you start your car, unlock you press that unlock button, you start the engine. Everything is based on tech. How much on tech? That varies, but everything is tech. So everything around us is tech, really. Um, think beyond your job description. Yes, you are allowed to think beyond your job description. You're given a task. Nobody's saying not to do it. Of course, you need to do it, in an excellent way, in a responsible way, but you need to think beyond it. In other words, you're given an assignment. You need to be clear as to why are you doing the assignment, who it is going to, how is it going to impact something. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what in the hierarchy, what level you're at. So connect your work with growth. Connect your work with how your work impacts the business itself, right? Um, Again, I will say that Gen Z, you thrive in things being ambiguous, right? Not clear. You thrive in reinvention. You look at things and you're like, how can we do it, differently? You use these social media platforms every single day to the utmost capability, and you get everything out of it. Take, for example, Instagram. I mean, my kids use Instagram and whatnot. They know more about Instagram than, or at least how to cobble things together in Instagram that I can ever fathom. The point is that this brain, now it has evolved to work that way. Use it, capitalize it, right? And this is the DNA of being a business differentiator. So stop speaking code and start speaking business. Let me just move on the slide. All right, so here is a secret that adults don't say out loud. Every application, every system, every workflow has a business chain reaction. Think of it as an iceberg, like the one you're seeing on the screen. When IT is asked to do something, what business side does not realize the hoops and bounds it takes for IT to complete that. Normally, it is estimated that whatever IT delivers, the impact on IT itself, information technology team or department, or the business domain, the impact is about 15% higher. So if you are asked to, hey, build me a chatbot for my banking solution, what the business didn't realize is what will it take IT to deliver it and to build it and to make sure that everything behind the scenes is connected the way it needs to be connected. And that is something where you come in. That's something you need to understand, and you need to be able to communicate back to the business. I'm not saying, tell them how challenging it is. What I am saying is that get them engaged, let them, let them see what you're doing, let them value what you're doing, and let's collaborate with them. Not only you will get an excellent feedback from them, but they will also get to appreciate that when they ask you to do something, what is that, and it entails. So transformation, in other words, it's more than technology. It is more beneath the surface and that you cannot see. Let the business see it. Share it with them. So uh, let me build this out in one sec. There we go. So there two, and again, I laid it out in a waterfall method. The one on the left, you will see this is the simple way to understand an industry. Um, and take, for example, retail. Take, for example, banking. That's a very emerging sector in Pakistan right now. Banking, you need to understand the industry. So left side shows you how do you rationalize the industry, and the right side, shows you how do you rationalize the business. So let's start with the left side. So on the left side, you have the industry challenges. Focus on what the banking industry in Pakistan, what the challenges are, overall challenges. And it could be anything. It could be your customers are not connecting well with the bank, the communication is not good enough, the contact centers are not good enough, or wherever the gaps are. Take that and then carve out of that the organizational challenges, meaning, I don't know, I'll use any bank, Habib Bank as an example. You're working with Habib Bank. What challenges out of those challenges in the industry Habib Bank is facing? How does it connect with the industry challenges and how does it react to it? Then look around, look at the peer activity, look at what some of the other partners are doing, what some of the other businesses are doing. Come up with a unique point of view, come up with a differentiating factor. How do you make that what you're doing for the bank, Habib Bank in this case, how what you're doing for them is different? And then that will help you carve out a competitive advantage for the business itself. Right now, for your communication purposes, that's a competitive advantage that you need to communicate up the stack and to everybody around you pretty much. On the right side, how do you understand, how do you rationalize IT projects, if you will, right? So start from the top. You take and you can replace business goals with corporate goals as well. So start from the top. Take, for example, corporate goals, right? CEO of a bank says, I want to increase, revenue by 4 billion rupees by the end of 2026. That's a corporate goal. Great. Now, when that corporate goal from the CEO comes down the stack, every team leader, every business leader translates that goal as to what would they do in their team to make that happen? What would they do to deliver that goal? And that becomes your business entity goal. That becomes your technology goal because those goals also trickle down to IT, right? So corporate goal is coming down to being a technology goal. And that IT goal, that's what builds your IT strategic roadmap, right? Out of the IT strategic roadmap, your IT leaders, they carve out capabilities and capability changes. Whether it could be, hey, we need to bring 6 new developers on board. We don't have Java capability. We need to bring Java on board and things like that. And those capability changes, they carve out what I call technology initiatives. Technology initiatives are normally maintained by the PMO, by your project management organizations. And those initiatives, which is a collection of projects, they have, again, projects underneath. And below the projects, you can also, draw tasks and whatnot. So it doesn't matter where in the food chain you're connected. Understand your place and understand how it connects upwards and downwards. That's what enables you to start speaking the business language. Because once you understand how is it connected up the stack or down the stack, you're capable of communicating both ways, right? How do you communicate that? We'll get to that in just 1 second. I always say, and I'm a firm believer, napkin drawings go a long way. There are oftentimes, I know many people in architecture as an example. You'll be sitting in a restaurant with them having dinner or lunch or something, and they'll be drawing something on a napkin. You're like, what are you doing? It's that thinking that counts. So don't wait to be in the office. Don't wait to be at your working desk to jot down an idea. And again, the reason I say napkin drawings is because this is a way to connect the dots very easily. So on the top, you're seeing an industry challenge. Underneath, some organizations, and these are all hypothetical, right? And then you see a unique point of view and then a competitive advantage. It is this easy, literally this easy, drawing boxes and lines to connect everything, to have a good understanding of where do you stand and where will you be in the future. This is an example of IT initiative alignment with business goals. And let me build this slide out so you can see it. And again, on the top, you see business goals. And at the bottom, you see how IT initiatives actually connect with those business goals. And again, the hierarchy that I showed you earlier, I just removed the two stacks from it, and this is a concise view. Again, it is this easy to connect what you're doing, either on a daily basis, your project, your tasks, your whatever you're asked to build and deliver. It is this easy to connect with the business goal. You need to start thinking in those lines. There's something that I'm a big fan of is and that is understanding the IT maturity. Every IT organization within a business, it could be anybody, they have a certain level of maturity. Now, maturity means, it doesn't mean how old or how long people are in that organization. It simply means how maturely they are conducting and delivering what they're doing. So, for example, when I study IT maturity for any organization, I look at seven business domains, seven IT domains. What is the IT vision? What is the IT strategy? What are the IT, metrics? What does the governance look like? What is the organization and hierarchy? What is the life cycle? Life cycle could be anything, and I'll come to it in just 1 second. And what does the infrastructure look like that that supports it? Again, not only looking at what these entities are, but looking at how these entities connect upwards. For example, take for example IT vision. How close IT vision is to the business vision. That's how you measure maturity. How well IT understands where business needs to be in 5 years' time. That's what defines a vision. And that's what you need to start to understand. Whether your job allows or not, ask questions, have a basic understanding of it. I'm not saying that everything you ask, everything you learn, you'll be able to apply it. But once you understand that, you will be able to deliver in accordance with what you're being asked to do very clearly, right? So here's the message. I mean, how do we do it, right? Then again, I call it call for actions. Stop serving tasks, start shaping outcomes. Take one step tomorrow. Ask a business question, right? Bring a new idea forward. Take one technology solution and elaborate it in front of your business partners with the business lens. Offer an insight based on data, not just hypothetical scenarios, but actual data. Gather data and offer an insight based on that data. Shadow, someone outside of IT, folks in the business, folks in the field, folks in sales. Shadow them, see what they do, learn what they do. There's no harm in that. In other words, ref- reframe your work in terms of value, not just outputs. You don't, Gartner says that technology leaders who speak the language of business will lead the future. And again, they made this statement last year. Point being, you don't need a title to lead. You just need intention. Your career, your growth, it starts now. Your business partnerships starts now. Leaders who learn the language of business early, they become unstoppable. You're not too late. You're not behind. You are not too new. You're built for this. Let's go get it. Thank you for your time, and I'll wait for questions if there are any. More than happy to answer.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
You are.
Honestly, your session has some really solid examples and it made everything very easy and clear for us. So, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that.
Yep, no worries. Are there any questions in the chat that I can answer?
Yes, there are a few questions. Let me tell you. So, the first question is, how do you evaluate whether a potential partner shares your long term vision or not?
So, uh, I think that's a great question. So it's multifaceted. I'll give you both sides. Partnerships are internal or external. They can be internal or they can be external. It's all about how well you connect with them and how you intend to connect with them. Oftentimes, people in IT, developers, programmers, analysts, they feel that they're too far below down the stack to connect upwards. A lot of times, there's fear that's not letting them do it. So it's all the above. The way you connect and clarify partnerships and the value of the partnerships is by communicating. Talk to your immediate supervisor, have them go up the stack if there's a question that you have and they don't know answer to. I mean, do it in a way that you're not challenging anybody. Ask a question out of curiosity, but learn what the partners are doing. So how do you evaluate, a partnership and the value of a partnership? If it's internal partnership, it's easy for you to reach out, connect with somebody and understand. If it's external partnership, ask for permissions, but connect. And again, if you wear the learning hat, you often, more than often, you don't challenge people. You are truly in a learning mode. Like, look, I want to learn, I want to know what they're doing. I just want to know because I feel that somehow it impacts what I'm doing.
Thank you so much. That was
I hope I
helpful.
answered that question.
Yeah, you did. There's another question. So, what's your take on Gen Z and their small businesses?
I cannot hear you.
The question was, what's your take on Gen Z and their small businesses?
Sorry, my apologies. There's no audio, but I see some questions coming in. Let me see if I can read them and answer them.
Hello, am I audible?
So there's a question that came from Zainab and Irfan, and that says, "What skills do you believe current students or junior professionals must develop if you want to become strategic partners, not just technical workers?" Zainab, I would say that it's more than skills; it's a soft skill, right? You need to start to understand the industry rationalization and the business rationalization that I showed you. I think if you start to understand the industry, and again, if you think that that's too big, start to understand the business, what the business does, and how does it plug in into a specific industry, and start to form an understanding of what the business does outside of what you're being asked to do. It does require a lot of practice. And like I said, in my call to action, and let me see if I can go back to that slide. In my call to action, um, yeah, so, again, this call to action, ask a business question. Ask a question which is not, go to work tomorrow and ask a question which is not a technical question. What you're doing as a junior person in IT, what you're doing, how does it impact the business? In the long term, how does it impact the business strategy? Just start with these two questions, and let's see what the answer you get. The point is, you need to start to zoom out by asking the right questions and getting the right answers, and then start to formulate your thinking process. That's the goal behind it, right? So try that and let me know if it works.
Hello, am I audible? Hello.
So the question we got was, why is it not enough to only have technical skills in a business? Um, it is enough to have technical skills in a business if you want to be techie for life. If you want to be seen as a value added partner, somebody who sits within IT, you need to have a clear understanding of the business, right? And take for example, and I'll give you a very basic example. Take for example, Parchun ki dukaan. Like you oftentimes you go to a store and you buy groceries. You go to Imtiaz and you buy groceries, right? Imtiaz is a supplier. When Imtiaz places the order for, let's say, dal, which comes in bulk, they place an order whether using EDI or using some sort of technology behind the scenes. They have some sort of mechanism that says when the threshold of the stock goes at this low, an automatic order is placed. Whatever mechanism they have, I don't know. I'm just using an example. Point is that the supplier or that part of IT knows how to write code for ordering from the warehouse, from the supplier, from wherever. If they do not understand what the consumption at the front end is, they might not be able to write or create the most optimal solution for it. They'll be able to write an ordering process, but if they don't know the other side, they will not be able to deliver exactly optimized way of doing it. I'll give you, let's go, zoom into this thing a little more. A lot of organizations in retail, they're using cameras as sensors. So they are using cameras, surveillance cameras, to look at the shelves and look at inventory in the shelves. Whenever the camera picks up in a specific area that the shelf is empty, the product is not there, it automatically triggers tasks. It automatically triggers either reordering or whatever the supply chain mechanism is. Point is that that's an innovative idea in retail. Take that, see how that can be delivered. That's an example of why it is important to understand the business and not just be a technical person. I hope I answered the question, Kakam. So great question came from Abdul Rahman. He says, what advice would you give? Wait, hold on a second. Yeah. What advice would you give to young people who want to lead, but they feel they don't have enough influence? You don't need influence. You don't need title. You create influence. You build influence. You build influence by asking the right questions, by having the right mindset. As soon as people in your team, people above you, people around you see that, hey, wait a second, this person thinks big, you already are building an influence. Whether you get a title for that influence or you don't get a title, you are building an influence. So don't look at title as your influence scale. Look at how well you understand your own environment and the hierarchies above you and around you mainly, and where you plug in, where you fit in. That's what's influence. Let me see if there's another question that I can answer in the interest of time. So Mudassir Ahmed asked a question: how can we make our business a competitive, demanding, and make growth in an organizational challenge? That's a There are many different ways to do it. There's unfortunately no standard answer to it. But then again, I will come back to this. If you understand the business and if you speak their language, not just the technical jargon, uh, your communication skills and your understanding of the other side would be that much better. And once you have that, you automatically will start to make the business competitive, because once you understand that and you know how technology can be plugged in to solve a challenge, you already are bringing a competitive advantage. You already are bringing a new idea to the table. You already are solving a problem, that needed to be solved that probably nobody else thought about. But again, it's about asking the right questions and understanding where you stand and what you're asked to do. So Aliza Azim asked a question: how can we actually become someone who inspires people as a leader as well? That's an awesome question, and the reason I think it's a great question is because the one thing you will realize leaders have, they are humble and they have humility, right? Um, you can never tell by speaking to a leader that they are a leader until you start to discuss something with them. You start to realize their leadership skills based on the knowledge they have. And people, and I feel, I always give an example of the boat. The more knowledge you have, the heavier the boat becomes. And that's the differentiating factor. That's how you become a leader. My key thing is that, again, outside of titles, you don't want to worry about CEOs, CTOs, whatever the case. It doesn't really matter. If you don't have knowledge of what you do, if you don't have clarity on what you're asked to do and what you need to deliver, you're not a leader. So in a leader, you will see a lot of knowledge, humility. Most leaders are very down to earth. They're very communicable. They are very approachable, and that's what a true leader is. Mariam, did I miss any questions?
No, you didn't. It was perfectly fine. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you.
Oh, that's great. So I think we are almost on the time. Uh, the
We
comments
are.
are very great. I think you answered so well. I personally really took some great insight from this session. So I think we should wrap it up over here.
Awesome. So, for anybody, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is there. You can look me up on LinkedIn as well. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that I didn't answer here. It's nice to be here, and thank you for connecting
Okay,
this,
thank you so
Mariam. Yep.
yeah, thank you so
All
much.
right.
It was great having some insights from you. I'll see you then.
All right. Allah Hafiz.
I'll end the stream over here. We'll guys see you in the next session. Okay, Allah Hafiz everyone. Allah Hafiz.